At some point in the last 10 years, you or someone in your family cleared out a loft. And somewhere in those boxes, there was a Lego set, sealed, unopened, still in the original packaging because someone bought it, put it away, and never got around to it. And you did what any sensible person would do. You gave it away. A charity shop, a school fete, a neighbor's child, because it was just Lego, and Lego is just a toy. Here is what nobody told you. A sealed LEGO Millennium Falcon, bought new for £650, sold on the secondary market for over £1,000 after retirement. Sealed. A LEGO Ideas old fishing store, retailed in 2017, retired in 2018. 1 year in production. By 2024, delivering 21% annual returns for people who kept it sealed. 21% per year. If you had put that same money into gold, you would have earned less than 2%. You were not holding a toy. You were holding an investment that was outperforming almost every asset class in the world. And you gave it to a charity shop. Like this video if you want to know how. Subscribe to The Markup on YouTube for the full audit. And follow us on Instagram for more stories like this. And that is not even the most surprising part, because the company that made it knew exactly what it was doing. And this is not what you think it is. In 2021, researchers at the Higher School of Economics published a study in a peer-reviewed finance journal. Not a toy magazine, a finance journal. They analyzed 2,322 LEGO sets sold on the secondary market between 1987 and 2015. Their finding was this: sealed, retired LEGO sets returned an average of 11% annually, 11% per year. Gold, over the same period, 1.9% per year. The stock market, approximately 8%. Bonds, even less. LEGO beat all of them. A plastic toy made in a factory, sold in a cardboard box, outperformed gold, outperformed the stock market, and outperformed almost every alternative investment class across nearly 3 decades of data. And when the researchers tried to explain why, they identified something remarkable. The returns were not random. They were not speculative. They followed a pattern that was almost entirely driven by one thing: whether LEGO had stopped making the set. The moment production ended, the price started moving. The longer production had been ended, the further the price had moved. And the sets that moved the most were the ones with the strongest emotional connections. The franchises, the licensed themes, the ones that people had grown up with. The researchers called this result surprising. It was not surprising to LEGO, because LEGO had been engineering this outcome for decades. The result is not a toy. The result is a store of value in a cardboard box. And the question is, how a company that makes plastic bricks for children became the most sophisticated creator of artificial scarcity in the world. The 11% average hides what is actually going on at the top end. These are not edge cases. The LEGO Millennium Falcon, set 75192, released 2017 at £649.99. After retirement, it sold sealed for over £1,000. Some examples, in perfect condition, for considerably more. The LEGO Ideas old fishing store, released 2017, retired after 1 year of production. By 2024, sealed examples delivering 21% annual returns, a set that retailed for £149 and 99 pence, selling for over £400 on the secondary market, sealed. The LEGO Cafe Corner, one of the original modular buildings, released in 2007 for £89 and 99 pence. Sealed examples have sold for over £2,500. That is a multiple of more than 27 times the original retail price. In 17 years, 27 times. For context, if you had put £90 into the FTSE 100 in 2007, you would have roughly doubled your money by 2024. Not bad. The LEGO set sitting next to it, sealed, would have returned 27 times the original price. Now, there is a condition attached to all of this: sealed, unopened. The original box intact, all four corners unbroken, no visible wear on the packaging. The moment that box is opened, the investment thesis ends. Not because the Lego inside changes. The bricks are identical, whether the box has been opened or not. But the secondary market is not buying plastic. It is buying certainty. The certainty that what is inside is complete, undamaged, unmixed with other sets, exactly as it left the factory. An opened set, fully rebuilt, displayed carefully, is still worth something. An opened set with missing pieces is worth almost nothing on the secondary market. A sealed set from the right range, held for the right period, can be worth a life-changing amount of money. And almost nobody who ever bought one knew that at the time of purchase, because Lego did not need them to. Here is the mechanism. Every Lego set ever produced has an end date. Not because it stops selling, not because the design is outdated. Every set is retired on a fixed schedule, typically somewhere between 1 and 3 years after release, regardless of demand, regardless of popularity. The set disappears from the official Lego website. It disappears from every authorized retailer simultaneously. Not gradually, on a date, all at once. And then the secondary market takes over. Lego controls the supply side with a precision that most businesses only apply to their most critical operations. The manufacturing window is fixed. The retirement date is fixed. Once that window closes, not a single additional unit enters the market from Lego. The supply is permanently capped. The demand is not. Because the demand is driven by nostalgia. And nostalgia is not a diminishing resource. The person who wanted the Millennium Falcon in 2017 still wants it in 2024. More people discover Star Wars every year. More adults remember building Lego as children every year. Fixed supply, growing demand. The price can only move in one direction. This is not accidental. Lego has a gross margin of 67.8% on products that cost less than 1 penny per brick to manufacture. It operates with the economics of a luxury goods house applied to injection-molded plastic. It understands, precisely, that the value in what it sells is not in the plastic. The value is in the scarcity. The scarcity is in the schedule. And the schedule is the most deliberately engineered element of the entire operation. The toy market overall declined 1% in 2024. Lego's consumer sales grew 12%. Not because of a new product, because the system that engineers scarcity was compounding, the way systems built on finite supply and growing emotional attachment always eventually do. There is a Lego set you cannot give to a child. Not because it contains small parts, not because it is too difficult, but because no child would want it, and no child could build it, and no child has 350 pounds to spend on one. The Lego Eiffel Tower, 10,001 pieces, 349 pounds and 99 pence. Average build time, over 10 hours. Finished height, 149 centimeters, designed to sit on a shelf, not to be played with. To be looked at, the Lego Concorde, 2,083 pieces, 199 pounds and 99 pence. A scale model of a retired supersonic aircraft. For adults who remember it flying, the Lego Typewriter, based on a fan submission, 2,079 pieces. For adults who are nostalgic for an object most people under 40 have never used. These are not toys. Lego does not call them toys. It calls them sets for adults. It built an entirely separate product line, marketed directly at people with salaries for display in rooms that do not belong to children. And this changed everything about the economics. A child's budget for a Lego set is determined by pocket money, birthdays, and Christmas. It has a ceiling. An adult with a salary has no ceiling. An adult who experienced Lego as a child, who now earns money, who wants to recreate something from their childhood or build something genuinely complex, will spend 350 pounds on a box of plastic without a second thought. Because for them, it is not a toy. It is a hobby. And people spend serious money on hobbies. Today, adults buying toys for themselves account for 25 to 30% of all global toy sales. That number was close to zero 20 years ago. LEGO saw this coming before the rest of the industry because LEGO had the data. The adult fan community, the AFOLs, the adult fans of LEGO, had been there for decades, spending money, organizing conventions, building things that dwarfed anything a child would attempt. LEGO looked at that community and made a deliberate decision. It started designing for them, not instead of children, alongside children. A company that was selling to one customer type discovered it could sell to two simultaneously, with the second customer type spending significantly more per purchase, far less sensitive to price, and motivated by an emotional connection to the brand that had been building since childhood. The most beloved children's toy in the world now makes a significant and growing share of its profit from people who are not children. And those people are also the ones most likely to buy a sealed set and keep it sealed because they understand what a sealed set becomes. The hobby and the investment are not separate things. LEGO made them the same person. Step back from any individual set. Look at the whole system at once. A brick that costs less than 1 penny to manufacture. A gross margin of 67.8%. A retirement schedule that creates guaranteed finite supply on a fixed timetable. A peer-reviewed academic study confirming 11% average annual returns on the secondary market, outperforming gold and the stock market across 3 decades. Specific sets delivering 21% annually. One set from 2007, now selling at 27 times its original retail price. A product line designed for adults with salaries, deliberately engineered to be too complex and too expensive for children. A franchise strategy, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Formula One, Fortnite, that expands the emotional connection across every generation, continuously adding new adults who associate LEGO with something they loved. And a collector community of tens of millions of people who understand that the sealed box appreciates, so they buy two, one to open, one to hold. What LEGO has built is not a toy company. It is a company with the economics of a luxury goods house, the secondary market of a fine art platform, the franchise strategy of an entertainment conglomerate, and the emotional reach of a childhood memory that sits inside almost every adult on Earth. The brick is the delivery mechanism. The retirement schedule is the value engine. The nostalgia is the fuel. The adult with a salary is the customer. LEGO was never supposed to have and is now building its future on. In 2025, the toy market grew 7%. LEGO's consumer sales grew 16%. Revenue, $12.9 billion. Operating profit, $3.4 billion. Not because of the toy, because of everything that was engineered around it. So go back to that loft. The boxes, the spare bedroom, the decision that seemed completely sensible at the time. The sealed LEGO set you gave to a charity shop because it was just a toy. Nobody told you about the retirement schedule. Nobody told you about the 2,322 sets and the finance journal and the 11% annual returns. Nobody told you that one set from 2007 was going to sell for 27 times what it cost, sealed, to someone who understood what they were buying. You made a completely sensible decision with the information you had. But here is what that moment actually was. It was LEGO's business model working exactly as designed. The retirement schedule requires most people to do exactly what you did. Give it away. Open it. Lose it in a house move. Because finite supply only drives price if the supply is actually finite. And most people make it finite by accident, without knowing they are participating in anything at all. The ones who kept it sealed, who understood the system, who bought two so they could open one and hold one, those are the ones collecting 21% per year. You were not making a mistake. You were the mechanism. The charity shop bag is what makes the sealed box valuable. And somewhere in Britain right now, there is another sealed set sitting in another loft, owned by someone who thinks it is just a toy. They do not know yet. This is the markup.